This is episode 186 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 186 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have Nick Van Dyk on the show. Nick is an investor I've known for many years, met him originally right around the time I started the Greater Hamilton REI meetup. Nick came out, met myself and several other investors, and we've kind of kept open line of communication ever since, sharing ideas. Love chatting with the guy. He's a very aggressive investor who retired himself from his job several years ago. He was going down the corporate path and real estate had replaced his income and he just ran with it. So Nick's a guy who doesn't hesitate. He's not afraid to take risks and to go into new and uncharted territory. And he had a good quote from this episode that he says, "You'll never really know until you try. You can read all the books you want, but you never know until you try." And that's led him to Edmonton, to investing in Cape Coral. Of course, he started investing in the Southwestern Ontario, Brantford area. But he's got stuff all over the place, and he's still consistently finding new opportunities and enjoying life. So he's going back to Florida. He's going camping. He's got his summer mapped out, spending time with family, and still able to run his business in between. So great episode. I've been trying to get him on the podcast for a long time. He finally agreed, and I think you're going to enjoy it. As always, just want to ask you, hit all the buttons. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you leave a comment. Help more people find out about the show. And then, of course, if you're an audio listener, a full 5-star rating and review would be greatly appreciated and helpful to get this podcast out to more people and hopefully help them as well. So thanks again for that. And without further ado, let's jump into episode 186 with Nick Van Dyk. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have a friend of mine, Nick Van Dyk, on the show. Drove all the way up from Brantford area. Well, Waterford.
Waterford.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for doing this.
Big drive. Thanks for having me.
Huge drive. Yeah. Half hour. So Nick, we've been talking about this for a long time and just finally pulled it together, and we're going to go through everything you've been up to. We met like 2019, started talking 2018.
Like that. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So originally the Greater Hamilton REI meetup. That was the first time we met.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Nick, tell me a little bit about kind of your story of investing. I know you've quit your job now, but the leading up to that.
Well, where do I start? To be honest, it's a long story, but I'll try to make it short. So pretty much, when I was younger, 17, my dad gave me a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Everyone's read that one, and pretty much from that point on, it kind of changed the way I thought. Like, everyone growing up, they're trying to climb the corporate ladder and do, be happy by making it to the top at their job, which in reality, we all know that sometimes isn't always the case. But anyways, long story short, my dad gave me that book. It pretty much changed the way I thought. And then from there, I kind of brainwashed myself in the way I was thinking, because like here I'm working at a great job. I worked at a local municipality, government job, pension, all that stuff. So everything was great. But at the same time, I also had the idea in my head, like, if I have to work till I'm 65, like, shoot me now, essentially, right? Like, I don't want to sound too harsh, but at the same time, like, the idea of that, I obviously didn't sit well with me. So, long story short, we ended up, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, got into the real estate stuff, and then persuaded my wife, who wasn't necessarily on board at the time, but long story short, we ended up buying our first duplex in 2015 or 2014, I can't remember. But anyways, so we bought that one, renovated it, got, I think it was about $500 a month in cash flow, and a light bulb went off, and I was like, if I can buy a bunch of these, I literally don't need a job anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So, I built off of that. Then from there, we did a bunch of other duplex conversions. We did triplex conversions, flipped some, wholesaled some, and just pretty much evolved from there.
That's interesting. Your dad gave you that book?
My dad, yep.
Of all people, like, yeah, I mean, my parents would not have given me that book.
Well, see, like growing up, like my dad was very like entrepreneurial.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, ironically, he was like, he also he still has a job and, doing what everyone was pretty much taught, climb the corporate ladder, right? So, But he pretty much, he knew that there was another way. Like he had, I don't know, countless businesses, to be honest. Yeah. And then from there, he knew there was another way, hence opening other businesses and stuff. But so yeah, he gave me that book, and then from there, I don't know, I fed off of it.
Yeah. So were there other ones that kind of contributed? Because I know like Rich Dad Poor Dad is more of like a survey of real estate or passive cash flow. It doesn't really dig deep on anything. It just kind of speaks conceptually. Yeah. Obviously, you had to learn a lot of other tools, especially back then. There weren't the resources there are now to learn this stuff.
Yeah. No. Like that's another thing. Like I've read a lot of books, but like I think that one was the start to kind of evolving from there, and then from there it was, I have probably books, like notepads and books of me like crunching numbers and evaluating properties. And I think just doing it so much, you just, you figure it out, right? So
how were you financing them early on? Just stuff money you saved from work?
Yeah, like the first one, me and my wife, we bought our first property in I think 2013 for ourselves. Actually the first rental property, we said that my parents and my in-laws were moving into it, so we were able to get a duplex for 5% down because it was 50% owner occupied.
Yeah.
But so a loophole, I guess. But
a little loophole.
So we got that one.
People have taken those.
Yeah. So we did that one with 5% down, and then the second one, we refinanced our other house, did 20% down, and it seemed like every property we bought after that, the banks just wanted more and more. So like it was 5% and 20%, and then 25% on some. Like it just where you think it might get easier, it might not have. So,
right, yeah. Yeah, now so when did you quit your job? It was last year?
2019.
2019, oh, so it's been a while.
Yeah, so.
How's retired life?
Well, so it's, at the end of 2019, I left my job on my 29th birthday. So I was 29, left my job, was like, okay, that year we did like 5 or 6 properties, bunch of duplex conversions or something. So we were busy, and I was obviously working full time, and at the time had 2 young kids. So, me and my wife made the decision, okay, I'm going to leave my job and just go full force into this. But then 2020 hit and the world came crumbling down. So it went from me wanting to go full tilt and buying real estate to me being a stay-at-home dad with 2 little kids. So I had to kind of pivot a little bit, but from that point on, like obviously things are a little bit more normal now, sort of.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're still moving along.
I'd argue things are almost less normal now.
Yeah, well, like,
economically,
I'm allowed to have this conversation, I guess, which
it's
weird to even say that I'm allowed to, but that's a whole nother topic. But
oh yeah, I get you. It's definitely a little bit tricky right now, kind of looking at the outlook. But I mean, you kept going during the lockdowns. You were still buying stuff, were you not?
Yeah. Like I think 2020 we did a duplex, a sixplex, and I don't remember if we got our cottage then, but yeah, no, we bought a few in 2020, and then 2021, like we got a couple more. Actually 2021 is when we bought a property out in Edmonton, just because around here things skyrocketed and numbers just didn't really make sense.
Yeah, it didn't make as much sense, right?
But
and what did you pick up in Edmonton?
13-unit building.
Oh, 13 units. I don't know why I didn't know that. Yeah. I thought it was smaller than that.
Well, okay. Like a 13-unit building there is equivalent to like a, I don't know,
4-unit building here?
Yeah, pretty much. So like
what were you paying per unit?
That was about $100,000 a door.
$100,000 a door. Okay, so 1.3 million for a 13-unit. And whereabouts in Edmonton?
Near, I don't know if you know where Nate is, but
how do you spell that?
NAIT. It's like a college university up there, but.
All right, NAIT. I'm looking this up right now. Okay,
that one's still like we bought it with, I think it had 7 tenants in it, and so it was like essentially 50% vacant.
Okay.
But the 7 tenants that were in it were like mom, brother, sister, and like a couple other tenants. So like it was kind of family. But so when we bought it, the rent rules there are a little different than they are here, obviously. Like they don't have rent control. So we literally just said, okay, you got to go. So we kicked them out and then renovated the entire building. But right now I think they have 10 9 or 10 units that are done, and then 2 or 3 that we had to wait for a couple more tenants to get out, and then now we're renovating those.
Yeah.
And then same thing with the common areas. So like I think we only have three units filled right now. So
Okay.
everything in Edmonton is like slow. It's
Like to get trades, to get things done.
no, like the contractor we got on the job is really good, fortunately, but it's just everything there just seems like it moves so slow. Like the transaction was slow, it was longer, closing was slow, and then filling the units is slow because like there's supply demand. There's so much vacancy there.
Yeah, out there they're known to have
Yeah.
much higher vacancy. So you're trying to increase your rents though as you put people back in.
Yeah.
Okay, and are you still competitive? Like, is the product you're offering competitive against the other equivalent products?
Yeah, like it seems like out there there's a lot of like rough units. Like people own properties or they've owned them for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, but they might like paint the cabinets or something. So like it doesn't look that appealing. So
Are you like replacing cabinets?
Yeah, we did all new kitchens, new bathrooms, paint floor, pot lights.
Gotcha. So pretty substantial renovations.
Yeah.
Like how much per unit are you investing?
Probably like 15 to 20.
15 to 20.
Depending on size. They're big units there. Like for some reason, like I don't know why, but every building that we checked out there they had like, I don't know, 4 closets in like the hallway. Like there's just tons of storage. Like they're just large units, large bedrooms.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
Well, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess area wise, I mean, I was talking to Mark Loeffler on their show not too long ago, and he's in a similar area. Like you're just north of downtown. I think he's just west of downtown with some of his stuff.
Yeah, like I don't know if you're looking on a map right now.
Yeah,
but
I'm
like
looking at a map.
If you look, there's it looks probably like a big empty field essentially.
Yeah.
Called Blatchford, I think it is. But anyways, they're doing all this development right there. Like, so that's going to be all brand new. So.
Okay, so you're in a pretty good pocket in terms of like growth potential.
That's the plan.
All right, and how did you decide on that area being completely new to Edmonton?
Me and my wife, we flew out there and we literally just spent like a couple days driving. Like I talked to a few people, got some ideas where good, bad, avoid this area, all that kind of stuff. So I just had like a rough idea on where to go, and then I think we looked at like, I don't know, probably 15 buildings or so.
So you had this all lined up before you went?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned like you can line up stuff or have plans to do things, but you just literally have to do it.
And your wife's on board to go see all this stuff with you?
Yeah, now.
Like
at the very beginning, she was, hesitant, like most people, right? Like everyone thinks risky. It's real estate's risky, but she's gone full circle. Like she went from like we shouldn't buy a house to why aren't you buying more houses kind of thing. So
yeah, hey, that's a good kick. I feel like Jordan, like obviously her family, like it's all my wife Jordan. Anyways, she grew up around it, so of course real estate's like obviously you do real estate.
Yeah.
But it's not exciting to her.
No.
She doesn't want to like go look at stuff. She's like, yeah, go ahead, like do your thing.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're home by this hour and make sure that you're available on weekends or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. No, we like growing up, like both our parents, it was like other than my dad, but like growing up, it was like get a good job, go to school.
Yeah.
Go to school, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder and go from there, right? Which.
I think my parents were similar in that regard. I think like it was a big fear of mine and my family. Like all my siblings did post-secondary, and it was like I wasn't going to be the one that didn't. So it was like even though I had no idea why I would want to go to post-secondary, I did. But the idea of a good job, that never really resonated.
No.
I'm like, what am I going to do? I mean, it doesn't really look like my parents are having very much fun.
No.
Why would I want to do that?
Absolutely. No, exactly. Like even when I worked at the county, like I seen like all of these, higher up positions, directors and all that stuff. And everyone around me is like pushing to get that job. And I'm like, why?
Why? Yes, exactly.
Like I'm looking at them. I'm like, okay, they're making $100,000 a year or 150, whatever. They're making good money, but they still lack vacation time. They're still driving a not nice vehicle.
Yeah.
Like they're like, sure, they're enjoying their life and it is what it is and each is to their own. But at the same time, like for me, I'm like, I didn't want that. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, if I have to work that long, not happening, right? And like at the end of the day, they still, majority of them still like complain, which I'm like,
right. Yeah. Somewhere in the, like, cause I've sort of always been self-employed. I mean, I worked in between university and I worked for the university briefly, which is very opposite to my personality, I think. But just the idea, it never worked to just have to like, you know, be here this hour, this time. Like I'm all good to make appointments. Like today is nothing but appointments.
yeah,
But it's like, it's very different doing it on your own terms versus doing it on somebody else's.
it's time.
But through all this like personal development stuff, like when I got into sales, mortgages being sales, like I started reading on sales, and you know, all the wisdom picked up is all that stuff not taught in school. Like don't take advice from people who don't have the results you want.
Absolutely.
Only take advice from people who have what you want.
Exactly.
And that lesson alone could change almost everyone's life.
Oh yeah.
Like
even it's like even just talking to having like, you know, having a conversation about real estate investing, and like most people are like, oh, don't do that. Like that's risky. You shouldn't do that. I'm like, do you have a property?
yeah, exactly.
And they're
Excuse
like,
me, what are your qualifications?
And they're like, no, but my cousin does or something.
My
right?
cousin's brother-in-law did.
Oh,
And
wow.
it didn't go well for him.
Yeah, like my very first property, I was actually, I remembered this, like our very first property we bought, me and my wife, we made that decision, okay, we're gonna buy this property. And then from there, I remember the last, like the viewing before we closed on it, we showed up to go and look at it, and the rear tenant came out and just lost it on us. Like
Oh yeah?
swearing, losing it, didn't want us there, you know, you didn't give us notice, all that stuff. And at the time I'm like, oh wow, this is a great start. Like it's our very first property and I'm already dealing with an awful tenant.
Yeah.
But like fast forward, she's still a
Yeah.
tenant in a new property. So I still have her as a tenant.
She was the one swearing at you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But like we've, you know, she just had a bad day, whatever. But at the same time, she's now in a different unit paying probably twice as much or more than what she was there. But like she's still a good tenant.
Yeah.
She just lost it on us on that day.
Yeah, I can only imagine like the opportunity, like if we had parents who were doing this.
Yeah.
And like just to like learn their
Well, it's like our kids, right?
Yeah.
Like it'd be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see like in the future.
yeah.
Like it's like my son. I have two little boys, and you know they're with us when we go to different places. Like I took my son to Edmonton, and we toured the building, and like he's 5, and I had him write down all the unit numbers. Like he's seeing all this stuff and being around it. So it's going to be interesting to see like.
Yeah, it'll be second. It'll just be common sense. Like when he'll say, "Okay, no, of course, we're gonna have challenges with tenants. We're gonna have to just weed them out. Like that's part of the process."
Yeah, it's not don't not do it.
Yeah, don't not do it because your
figure out a way
first
to
tenant's gonna
figure
be
it
bad. The unfortunate truth for most people is their first tenant is probably going to be their worst one.
Which is great in a way because
Yeah,
at the same time, like okay, well now you know what not to do or how to handle a situation, right?
Yeah. And like I definitely can say like for me, like my experiences early on with tenants, like they were bad. They were enough to like make you want to get out of the biz.
Yeah.
But it was all my shortcomings, my failure to process and set things up correctly, trust the wrong property managers.
Yep.
You can make all the mistakes.
Oh, 100%.
I feel like a lot less people, maybe it's just our circles, are making those mistakes now though. I still hear it occasionally, but
What's that?
just like, you know, not using the right systems, getting the wrong tenants in, especially people who like kind of listen to this podcast and the different guests that come on talk about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They kind of just know a little bit better because they've heard the stories.
Well, and plus you have like Ontario. Like
Yeah.
majority of our tenants are great,
Mhm.
but you know the more you get, it's inevitable to get some bad apples. But like, and then in Ontario the rules are
Yeah,
not good. Like
not great, no.
we have a sixplex in London, and it took a year to get over a year to get a tenant out. And he was like, not that he was a bad tenant, he was just paying low rent. And I wanted to fully turn that building over. So
Right.
it just took forever. Versus Edmonton.
Did you give them the N13 or whatever it was for the renovations?
Yeah. So I basically showed up with two notices, and I said, okay, you have 2 options. One, well, before we even, or when we first bought the building, I tried to move him into a different unit, and he didn't want it. But so I showed up the one day with 2 notices. I can't remember the numbers. I'd have to double check. But essentially, the one where it's like I'm going to evict you. The renovations in 13, I think it is. Or the other one was
It might be the N9 or N11, the one where they agree to leave on their own.
Yes.
You don't both sign it; they
That's
sign it.
Yeah. So I gave him basically the two options, and I was like, okay, well, this one you have to leave. Like we're renovating the building, you have to leave. I'm giving you notice, all that stuff, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or if you want this one, I'll pay you $5,000.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a few more months of notice, all that stuff. But regardless, you're leaving. And he fortunately just didn't know all the rules exactly. So
yeah,
he was like essentially I gave him these two options, and I'm like this one you're leaving but without money and shorter. This one you're gonna leave but you're gonna end up with $5,000 and I'll give you some more time.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, no brainer. I'm gonna pick that
$5,000.
one, right? So he took that one, but then fast forward, he signed it, all that stuff. Come the end of February when he didn't leave.
Had you already given him the money?
No.
That's the key, right? The money will be in your hand on the way out.
Well, what I did was I basically said, like, he was paying like $800 a month or something at that time. And I'm like, all right, well, 3 months is $2,400, so it's almost half of the $5,000. I'm like, how about I give you 3 months rent free, and then when you move out, I'll give you the rest of the money.
Okay.
So I gave him 3 months of rent free, and then I also issued non-payment of rent
for each one,
just in case. And so now, come the day he was supposed to leave, he didn't leave. I haven't yet paid him anything, and that he already gave us post-dated checks. So I cashed all the checks, and then
even for the months that you were
like the 3 months.
The 3 months that you gave him for free, you cashed all those checks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you're not paying, you're not leaving.
Yeah.
I might as well take it.
But he already signed the N9, right? Like the one you didn't have to sign it. It was just him giving notice that he was leaving, right?
Correct. Right. And on there, it doesn't say I'm paying you $5,000 to leave. That was just
right. So that was an agreement you had with them.
Just like
so can't you just call the sheriff at that point?
So we were in Florida at the time, and I have a paralegal in London that we use. So I called them up, and it was pretty inexpensive expense to. They filed everything. They did all the paperwork. They went through the LTB, and it was pretty much, okay, you got to leave. So the LTB mailed him a notice, which he doesn't have email, so it was even better because it took longer to get to him. But he got the notice, and it was essentially like you got to leave within, I think it was like 7 or 15 days, whatever the number of days was, or I can file, and then the sheriff comes and he goes.
Yeah.
So he got scared, obviously, and he ended up just leaving. And
you didn't give him the money?
And I didn't give him the money. In fact, actually, it was funny. So ultimately he left, and then he's like, well, can I get the money back? I'm like, well, you didn't leave, and like,
you broke the agreement,
right? So I'm like, in fact, you owe me money because now I had to pay paralegal, I had to pay, to file all this stuff and to go through this process to actually get you to leave. Yeah. So I don't know. Long story short, he's out.
Yeah.
Renovating it, and that'll be good.
That's a shame. Yeah. Like, because you gave him a very, very good deal.
Yeah. Well, that's even the paralegal that we were dealing with. He goes, nobody does this. Nobody gives that much, to a tenant
to leave.
And I'm like,
but
at the same time, I'm like, I have a heart. The guy wasn't a bad person. He still paid. He was just paying low rent.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, well, did I keep him? Yeah, it's fine. But I'm like, he's literally paying, I think we're going to re-rent the unit out for $1,700 or something.
And how many bed is it? So 2 bed, and then they get 2 spots with that, or 2 parking spots?
Yeah. Well, there's probably 1, to be honest. 1 parking spot. There's 2 bedrooms. Like, it's a good sized unit. It's top floor.
Yeah, rents are really getting pushed up right now in London, aren't they? Yeah. Like the property values are kind of slowing down, but
I got numbers for that one if you wanted to punch it in your little.
Yeah. Okay. So we can go through the sixplex. Sure. Let's talk about that. Okay. So what did you buy that one for?
We paid $915.
All right, $915. And how much did you do for reno?
It was around 200, give or take.
So you're in for 1.1 ish.
Yep.
And so what do you figure it's worth, or what was it worth when you went to refi?
Now it's probably different, but at the time we got it appraised. The appraisal went through, and the appraiser went through, and he went through 3 units or so, and they're all the same.
Yeah.
Same floor, same kitchens, literally every unit's the exact same. And there was the one unit that Buddy was still in, who hasn't left yet. But I told the appraiser, yeah, we renovated that one, but because of COVID, he doesn't want you in there. So he's like, okay, yeah. So the whole building's done. And I said, yep, it's all good. So he appraised it at 1.74 million.
Oh, wow.
Which to me was like, I think that's wrong, but like, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, it seems too much, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so were you looking to get 75%?
I think we ended up getting around 70 ultimately.
Yeah, so 1.2-ish.
Yeah, give or take, whatever that works out to be. We pretty much got all of our money back plus a little extra.
Oh, okay. Let's look at this a little bit. So yeah, all of your money back would have been, maybe closer to 1.1 on a mortgage instead of 1.2. Because this at 1.2, you're getting 100 grand back in your pocket on top.
Yeah, like we probably did, to be honest.
All right.
Like, or close to it, but then we're using a bunch of that money to renovate that last unit, which I said was.
Okay.
Right?
So what's the average monthly rent now on these?
Like the total income right now, well, once that other one's unit is rented, which it should be in the next month or two, it'll be about $9 grand a month.
Not bad. Okay. And your vacancy is pretty low these days, right?
Yeah, I don't. You can factor it in, but like in reality, it's
not going to happen anytime soon. Okay, what's the tax amount for that building?
That one is $6,400 a year.
And insurance?
$5,600.
56. Oh, you just have all these numbers right here.
Yeah.
Maintenance, like a 5% allocation is okay?
Yeah. So we have, so basically I put like 5% for like
life cycle
for maintenance
stuff, right?
And vacancy, like just a
general
number, but yeah.
Okay. What do you pay for utilities?
We are at around $1,200 a month.
Is it all inclusive?
No, they pay hydro.
Okay. So you're just boiler, so gas for a boiler for the building?
Yep.
Do they have air conditioning?
No.
But they can put their window units
they can
in?
put their window shakers in.
Yeah. Okay. And then management, you're self-managing?
Yes and no. So I have a guy who does, he's been with me pretty much since the third property, and he does all of our renovations and like general contracting and stuff like that. Like I was pretty much the guy doing it, but then, when you get a bunch on the go, it's busy, right? So So I brought him on, and he helps me do lawn maintenance, snow removal, helps me with management, showing units. Like he's just
he just does everything.
one-stop shop, and he kind of does a bunch of things for me. So I think I have on here, I pay him about, it's like $200 a month to help me with management.
$200. So that includes grass cutting?
No. I got $4,000 a year for lawn and snow removal.
All right. So say you're about 2.5 then on the management, and then lawn and snow. Yeah. Okay.
Because like once it's rented, like he literally manages the property. I just don't pay 5 or 6 or 8% of.
That's fantastic. So is this somebody who you knew before?
Yeah.
How'd you meet this one?
Like, what do you mean know before?
Like you just met him when you bought the building, sort of?
No, he's been with us since we, like, probably the first house he worked on was the Paris house that I met you at.
Okay.
Like when we were talking about that one. Like he's like a general contractor essentially, but he's also got a good head on his shoulders and can speak.
But he lives in London?
No, he lives in Brayford.
But he'll drive over to London for you?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a lot of driving.
Well, like once it's done and rented, it's
not as much, yeah.
Like he might go every 2 weeks to cut the grass, but he's got a couple guys that working for him, so he'll send one of his guys.
Yeah, it's so not worth driving down there to cut the grass. You can just get somebody local to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not like at the beginning I cut all of our grass, like, but I'm like, no, not anymore.
Yeah. When did you buy that one?
2020 or 2021.
I remember you posting when you bought it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Okay. So that's actually interesting, like looking at the way these numbers work, because your cap rate on that based on the appraised value is like under 4%. That's wild. Like 3.97. And of course that's based on me putting a 5% maintenance in, which I know you don't do. But
yeah, no, at the end of the day, like when the appraiser came back and said it was worth, like, he appraised it at 1.74, and I was like, hey, I'll take it, but it's definitely on the high side.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not going to argue with you. What interest rate did you get?
1.83.
1.83.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
On a commercial mortgage?
No, we did it through RBC.
Oh, okay. That's why. Yeah.
30-year AM.
30-year AM. Okay, so that makes it so much better.
Yeah.
So you're you're a $1,300 a month cash flow on that thing once it's fully rented. Yeah. That's great. That's a great little keeper, right?
Yeah.
You don't have anything into it pretty
No,
much,
yeah.
and it's cash flowing decent amount. Now those numbers are probably going to go up.
Yep.
So you can't be too upset about that one.
Nope, not at all.
All right. And then obviously the Edmonton one, more units, more income potential, I guess, growth.
Yeah, it's Edmonton's different. Like we're gonna get 1-bedroom units. Like they'll be rented for like $1,000, $1,100 a unit, versus
Yeah.
like I have stuff in Brantford and the 1-bedrooms are renting for like $1,500,
Yeah.
$1,700.
But that's okay, because 13 units, that's
Yeah,
that's
it's
$13,000
relative,
right? $13,000, and you bought it for, well, compared to the other one, you bought it for $400,000 more, but you got an extra 7 units.
Yeah.
That's okay. Obviously, they're not going to rent for as much, but maybe down the road they will. Never, but you don't need them to, right? So renovations, how much did you get into renos for Edmonton ballpark?
It's still under, so probably
Could be a couple $100,000.
Yeah, it's at least that. There was a bunch of asbestos and stuff. We had to do a bunch of abatements, so that wasn't fun. But I think it was probably around, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but probably 250.
250.
Yeah, like it was a little higher. Like we did new panels and stuff like that too. So, but yeah, I don't know what the numbers are all gonna play out. Like I have rough ideas right now, but at the same time, it's not done yet. So.
And like values in Edmonton, are they coming down right now?
No, I haven't seen anything. Like I was talking to my agent the other day, and he was saying like things are still okay, but like I think it's inevitable. Like
Edmonton just never really had the mad growth, right? Like that's why I was keen, and we both were keen on Cape Coral. It didn't have the same growth that these other markets had.
Exactly.
Not like Canada.
No.
I mean, things like they just recovered down there. They just recovered their peak highs from 2008, like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So a little bit more comforting, but nowhere's comfortable right now, right?
No,
if you're relying on your values.
Yeah, like even Canada, U.S. market is completely different, I find.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about what you're doing. Well, is there more going to happen in Edmonton, or are you good?
I'm gonna finish this building.
Yeah.
See how kind of things play out. I liked Edmonton. I like the areas. I have the contractor. I have the team essentially set up. So like, there's not a problem to do more, but it's whether it's, I guess, worth it. But I also didn't think this when cause there's a whole story of us going to Florida, and that we can talk about that if you want.
Yeah.
But like, so when we went down to the States, like, I'd seen different opportunities. So not that Edmonton's bad or not that Canada's bad. I just feel like there is opportunities in the States. So, but yeah, we might do more at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I want to kind of see how this one plays out. And like, I think we got to fill another, 9 more units or so before I can refinance it. So.
Yeah. So right now, is it privately financed? Yeah. Did you find an Alberta private lender or somebody from here?
No, Alberta.
And how'd you get connected with that person?
Just talking to people, making a lot of phone calls, and I met up with actually another investor from our area in Ontario.
Okay.
He's got a couple places out there, not Loeffler. So I reached out to him. He gave me a couple contacts, and then you just start talking to people and figuring it out, right? So
yeah. Well, that's why I like getting to like the meetups when you can out there. You just start to meet people, right?
Yeah, it's hard to meet up people like when it's in a different province, but
it is. Well, you'd have to figure out, do they even have one, right? Like
I
it's not like we just have an easy to go to. Like I guess the Right Club here is running again. I haven't been in obviously years at this point, but that is like the ideal way for me. I'm impressed by how quickly you just did it. Okay, we're just gonna go out here, pick our area. All right, buy that one.
Pretty much. I've figured out like you can read and you can do all of this research and you can figure everything out, but at the end of the day, you really don't know unless you do it.
Yeah.
So
you just do it.
Just jump now and figure out how to fly on the way down. So
Right, and you did similar on the Florida side of things. So we met up in Florida. Well, you were down there. You were down there a lot longer than I was this year, but I was down there the previous year a lot longer.
Yeah.
So tell me about what happened, the story, because I know you went across the border back where there was like that brief window where there were no restrictions, and you were off to the way.
I remember I think it was a Saturday or something. It was a weekend or whatever, and I don't know, I seen that someone posted they're on their way to Florida, and I was like, oh, I've never been to Florida. Like, I'd like to go to Florida.
So you never even been?
Never been.
Oh, okay.
And so my wife and kids were upstairs, and I went upstairs. I'm like, does anybody want to go to Florida? And my kids don't know what Florida is. Like, they're 5 and 3 at the time. But so I pulled it up on YouTube on the TV, and you click video of Florida, and you see dolphins and beaches, and it's all pretty and palm trees, and next thing you know, my kids are jumping around like, we're gonna go to Florida. So we said, all right, let's go. Like, that's the joy of not having a job. I don't have to ask for vacation. I just pack the truck up and go. Yeah. So we I think it was Saturday, we were talking about it, and we ended up leaving on Wednesday. And we just drove down, and we originally planned like a 3-week vacation. We're just, we haven't been anywhere. Let's go to Florida and enjoy it. So we drove down, long drive, and with kids, it's... Yeah. So
I did it with a 3-month-old.
Yeah, well...
Maybe we're crazy. I think we were definitely crazy.
Well, I think anybody doing all of this is somewhat crazy, right? So...
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we picked up my my kids from daycare or whatever, and I think it was like 4:00. We left around 3 or 4 in the afternoon and just drove nonstop.
Oh, you didn't stop?
No, because I think it was like 10 o'clock by the time like they finally started to like get tired and fell asleep.
Okay.
So like we essentially put them to bed in the truck.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's quiet. They're sleeping. Nobody's on the road. Keep going. So we literally drove, like, I remember driving, and we stopped for gas or coffee or whatever, but just didn't stop. And I remember coming into Florida, and the sun was coming up, and so the sun was coming up, and I'm like, all right, awesome, we're almost there. I look at the GPS, and it's like still 5 hours to go. So it was a long drive, but yeah, like, long story short, we drove to Florida. We went from Orlando, and then we planned to go to Naples and then St. Pete. Yeah. And while we were there, I'm crunching numbers on like some of these Airbnbs that we're staying at, and I'm like you can go on Realtor and figure out how much they're worth cost, and what you're renting for and all that stuff. And like, obviously now we're during the high season, so that was rents are a little more and stuff. So I just started evaluating them, and I'm like they make really good sense. So yeah. And then I just started talking to people and making more phone calls and just learning stuff. And then so long story short, we ended up like saying, okay, let's try to buy a property. And we evaluated things in Orlando, Naples, St. Pete, Tampa, Sarasota, Cape Coral, and ultimately like Cape Coral was like that area. It seemed like your dollar goes a little further. Yeah, like, you're still close to the beach. Yeah. It's still warm out. There's still all the stuff that Airbnb people like, but it's just cheaper.
I feel like the beach part's the only hard part, because to get to like the actual beach is it's quite a bit further. Yeah. There is a little beach there on the south side of Cape Coral though, right? Yeah. Otherwise, Cape Coral is all, just for anyone who doesn't know, canals, and like it's water, but it's not really beach.
No, like the closest like big beach, like, it would be Fort Myers Beach.
Right? And that's a long actual drive.
I think from the house, we ended up buying 2 houses, but the one we bought, I think it was like, assuming you went at a normal time and you didn't have much traffic, like you can make it there in a half hour, but
yeah, the traffic
is that kills you, right?
Because there's only 2 ways into Fort Myers Beach. Yeah. And if it's busy, it just plugs up. Yeah. And we've waited, and we had our air conditioner broke. Oh. We had the dog in the car, and it was like torture. Yeah. So you don't want to do that.
But yeah, there is a closer beach, or we also, like, if you have a boat, you can take a boat out like through the canals and go to Sanibel Island.
Yeah.
So like Sanibel's another, and it's not as busy as Fort Myers.
Probably a little closer too, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is closer, but the only reason it's not as busy is because you have to pay a toll. I think it's like $5 or $7 or whatever
Across the bridge.
to cross the bridge, but
Yeah.
there's still beach. So
Yeah. I think, like you said, I think Cape Coral's a value play. And
Yeah.
that was why I liked it. The way, like, on the building side for me, the way I could get in for the price I could get in made a lot of sense, especially with the built-in equity when they're done. I mean, of course, now with values, who knows if they come down a bit. Last conversations I had is they still had not really.
no, like I've talked to my agent down there, and
It's slow.
he said it's starting to slow down, but like he's like they're still
going up.
still selling,
Yeah, that's the thing.
and
right?
like rates have gone up too.
The
So,
rates
like,
have gone up, but I mean, I was going to the meetups, and you were there at the one of them, and there's been the same story. They're getting like more than 50% cash buyers.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, of course that money, when people see interest rates have gone up, they start looking at alternative investments. Like, where else can I put this money?
Right.
So it's not to be ignored, but very different from the 2008 crisis where that was all credit driven. This isn't the same as that. So it's hard to know what happens for sure. I definitely think a correction is possible, but I think rents keep getting pushed there.
yeah.
'Cause
But at
rents
the
were
same
so
time
low
too,
there.
like in Florida, like how much like demand, right? Like
But
I can't remember the number, but there's a
people
lot
moving
of
in a
people.
lot. Yeah, the in-migration to Florida, which was particularly why I liked it too, because although it didn't really have a whole lot of industry outside of tourism, that comes as more people come.
Right.
And like, when is Florida not going to be a nice place
Well,
to
and
go?
that's the thing. Like I'm when we were there, and like even before we went to Florida, I'm talking to people, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to Florida?" Like, "Oh, it's awesome." So I'm like, I don't know anyone who doesn't like Florida.
Yeah, not in the summer,
Right?
but
Well, that's the thing. We're going next
Yeah.
week to check on the place that we bought, the second property,
yeah.
and
So you'll be in Cape?
yeah,
Okay, check out mine for me.
sure.
Since you're going
The
to be
dirt
there.
lots or
No,
have they
I've got
started building?
two active builds right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I got a third that we should have permit any time now. We'll be
Cool.
starting that too.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's busy
go
time.
crack the whip if you want.
Yeah, go crack them. I mean, they're pretty good. I think, it's the same issue we all have, right? Getting the next trade in after the last one leaves. But
Yeah,
we're moving along anyway.
good.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at like rough numbers, kind of what you've been getting into down there. Like, what was the first one that you purchased it for?
450.
50?
Yeah. I don't have these numbers on me like I did.
Yeah,
the
no, just
sixplex,
total.
but yeah.
Like, no one ever does. Like,
Yeah.
what you did there is like, that's uncommon. But anyways, yeah, we'll go through it. So 450 to buy. Do you know approximate what you had in like furnishings and any sort of renovations?
Furnishing, I think we budgeted for like 20, but it ended up being a lot less.
Okay. But you didn't do any renos, no paint? No
Yeah,
nothing?
we repainted the whole place, like inside, updated a little bit in some areas, some lights and stuff like that. But then we also updated the one bathroom a little bit, like vanity. And
So did you
stuff
spend like
that.
20 grand total, or?
No, and then we added an interlock patio out back. So
Okay.
I think total it was like 15 grand.
15?
Yeah.
Including furniture?
No, furniture would have been extra, so 25 probably.
25, yeah. So that's a ready to go Airbnb.
Yeah.
Okay. So 475 all in, and you're not refinancing that, are you?
Well, we bought, so as a Canadian buying in the United States, you got to remember, it was 3 weeks.
Mhm.
We planned a 3-week vacation and turned into 3 months, and
Yeah.
we ended up buying 2 properties. So
Yeah.
I learned everything quick. So
Yeah.
it was, there's some stressful days, but at the end of the day, that's what we do. We figure it out. So, but yeah, so we ended up.
You bought it in your personal name then?
So we had to buy it in a personal name.
Yeah.
We got private financing on it, and then just to close, because
Yeah.
it's a competitive market. I
Yeah.
think the property we bought, the first one, I don't know, there was like 7 offers on it. So, but yeah, so and then now we're going through the process. So we open up our like entities and stuff like that, and now we're refinancing it and switching everything over.
Switching it over, yeah. Okay, yeah. So switching everything over, you did the LP, LLC, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I talked to you about that one afterwards. But yeah, that's what I did as well. I know we were talking about that. Okay, but let's go through, like, what do you expect to get, or did you already get it appraised?
No, it's supposed to get appraised next week, hopefully, but it'll probably get appraised around, I don't know, 480 maybe. Or
480,
something.
yeah.
Like
Okay,
it's
so.
maybe more. Like
And you're expecting like 75%?
70.
70% loan to value?
Like
okay.
as a foreign international, I think they only
Yeah.
go up to 70 for the most cases. But.
So you'll be in for like 139 US.
Yep.
Okay. And that money just came out of stuff you had in Canada, or?
No, we have a partner on it.
Oh, you have a partner? Okay. What are you getting for monthly rent on that place?
So I talked to a ton of people to try to come up with numbers, and like you can use Airbnb, VRBO, AirDNA, like to get an idea.
Yeah.
But like I was like, okay, like I came up with a rough idea, but like February was completely different than July. So
Is July like anything?
yeah, like
I've heard July can get a little bit busier actually.
Well, so we've rented May, June, July, and August. Like May, June, and July are full.
Yeah.
And August is probably half full right now.
Yeah.
Like we even have some like other dates that are booked, but like we don't book it that far in advance.
You only let it book 3 months out?
Yeah.
Okay.
So because people book it too far in advance, or you can get a lot more money when you like for last minute bookings and stuff. Right?
Yeah. I'm hoping for that for our campground. So anybody looking to book a glamping tent or trailer, check out our property up in Miller Lake on Airbnb. But yeah, okay. So what are you getting? What are you getting for monthly right now?
So far we're generating probably about $5,000 a month.
Okay.
In gross, give or take.
Gross.
Some is like the 1 month might have been like a little bit more, maybe just under 6.
Is July lining up for that too?
Yep.
Yeah, about $5,000. So what do you think like across the year would, like based on what you've seen so far, and I won't hold you to it obviously, but
yeah, like so I did quick like rough math, and I was like, okay, if I can get like, $5-6 grand a month for your average month,
because you're gonna get more in like,
well then January, February, March, April.
Yeah.
Like
January's not that busy there. February, March is the best.
Yeah.
Typically.
Like, that's the thing. When we were down there and we were trying to like, we were like literally staying week after week trying to find a place. So, like when we were vacationing I call it vacationing, but it
gives you a whole extra perspective, right?
Oh yeah.
Being a student helped me buy student rentals. Trying to find vacation rentals helps you buy them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but when we were trying to book the one place, we ended up like everything was booked.
Yeah.
And like there was places that were like over $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
Like for the high season.
Because they were last minute too.
Last minute. So and like you either go to Florida and pay it or you don't.
Or you don't.
And it was the same in like St. Pete, Tampa, like everywhere. The only like we considered Orlando, but Orlando was like, you either go to Orlando to go to Disney, right? But it was like very saturated. I felt.
Yeah.
Like there's lots in Cape Coral and everywhere else in Florida, but like it just seemed like there was more.
Okay. In Orlando. Yeah, I've heard the same. I've heard people say they felt it was overdone. I don't like the volatility based on Disney. If Disney were something happened or it became less popular, like they drive that market, right?
100%.
Or if they got too woke, and then people stopped going there.
Yeah, like exactly.
You never know, right?
Yeah. Long story short, we ran our numbers and all that stuff, but like as of right now, like we shouldn't have a problem grossing like 60 grand, like almost at a minimum.
60 annual, okay.
Right? But come February, March, that that could even go a little higher.
Could be, yeah. So, it'd be interesting to see that. So you have a pool. It's a 3-bed, 2 bath. Sleeps what, 6, 8?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Okay, so you advertise sleep 6.
Yep.
Okay. What do you pay on taxes there? Do you know? Ballpark?
Like $4
grand?
$4,500 maybe.
Okay, and then insurance.
So we're in an area where we're southwest Cape Coral, so it's like
floodplain.
It's floodplain, but like it's very nice neighborhoods. Like But yeah, so there's flood insurance, and then just your regular house insurance, but
combined
20. I can't remember.
Like 2,500.
Yeah, probably in and around that.
Okay, and
it was like the flood insurance. I think was only like, well, the first house we were actually able to like take their other policy and get their price, which was I think under $1,000. But so yeah, call it 2,500.
Okay, so 2,500, and then maintenance. I just have a 5% budget for just whatever might happen. I think it's good to have that for life cycle stuff too. Utilities, you're obviously paying that.
Yep.
What's the monthly?
Well, the first month was more because you got like
double bill or something.
All that stuff, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like by the time you pay hydro, like the hydro, you're gonna be more in the summer because you're
It's super
running
hot.
AC and all that stuff. So it's just different there. Like you have
And there is no natural gas there.
no, and like the water line just runs
Above the ground.
yeah, like it's
Yeah.
running up and into the house. Like
Yeah.
so it's not like here where you got to worry about frost. And
Yeah, it's the
freezing.
beauty of it not. I mean, it can freeze. That's exceptionally rare. It would
But
be for that area.
it's also different. Like
Yeah.
here we have problems like with freezing and stuff like that or winter. But there, if you don't have your air conditioning on,
That's a problem.
like you get mold growing everywhere.
Yeah, that's the
right?
big
Like,
thing. Yeah, you gotta watch out for mold. You have to keep
Yeah.
your air conditioning on. And like we had an issue when we were there last year. Like you can't just run your system for airflow. Like you can't have it run like if it's on and the AC needs to be on too.
Yeah.
Otherwise you get all kinds of mold problems. It's
So yeah, utilities is probably I don't know, probably $200 a month.
okay.
Maybe a bit more in the summer, but yeah.
All right, so we'll call it 2,400 on average, or we could say maybe 2,600 to budget for summer increase, and then management. That's the one that with Airbnb is obviously typically a bigger number.
Yeah, so we called a bunch of management companies and they all wanted like 10 to 15%, which I'm like,
That's cheap compared to some are like
yeah,
25.
I don't know. Like I've always figured out alternatives, I guess, to still get the
I
same
like
thing
it.
done, right? Like
I like it.
I don't know. Like that if I'm gonna pay that much money, like I don't know. That's
Just-
a lot.
Just
So,
bring it internal, yeah.
Yeah. So right now, like my wife's doing a lot of it, but the
Yeah.
whole plan is like if we get a bunch more, then we're just gonna hire somebody that will do that. Because
So you're
ultimately,
talking about like fielding the calls, responding to people.
Yeah.
Like that's all something you don't need to be on site for that.
No,
What you need
no.
is feet on the ground to go bring
Yeah.
toilet paper rolls if you need them.
well, it goes back to systems. Like
yeah.
we have like to message people and to do all that stuff is you can have so much automated stuff on Airbnb.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we have a cleaner, we have a pool guy, we have a lawn guy.
Yeah.
We have all those people and boots on the ground essentially, right? Our cleaner she cleans it, she restocks all the paper towel, the toilet paper, makes it
Yeah.
all pretty and stuff.
If you had like an emergency or they needed something, would she be able to go?
Yeah, like depending on what it was. But
Yeah.
I also have a handyman and another contractor that I'm using, and they've both been good. So
Yeah.
like the one day the AC stopped working, which
Yeah.
in Florida
That's a problem.
you
yeah.
need AC. So
Yeah.
again, like I like when we were there, I built up a list of contacts. So I called Guy. He was on his way to Fort Myers or something at the time, and I told him my situation. And long story short, I persuaded him to go now. And
Yeah.
he turned around, went there, and he had to clean out like the condensation pump line.
Yeah,
and stuff
those
like
need to
that.
be sucked
and,
out. Yeah.
But
So in Florida, you can't have your condensation line go into your drain. Like everyone here, like their condensation line just either goes into their drain or their
Right.
sump pit. There, you're not allowed legally to put your condensation pump line into your drain because of how much humidity they take out of the
Yeah.
air. Like they don't want
That's
their
a lot.
sewers getting filled up with all that extra water.
what I also knew too, which was kind of interesting, they had, I don't know if this is where your properties are either, but they have like a gray water line at the street that you can use to water your grass and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, no, they don't have that where I am.
Like
But
I think my wife was like, why does it smell?
yeah, it's canal water.
And I'm
right?
like, no, it was like I thought it was from like people watering their grass with gray water.
Yeah, no, they are. Yeah,
So-
so all the sprinkler systems, yeah, they're drawing off
Yeah.
of something that's not the city water.
Right.
Yeah, they're drawing off of canal water or something. Yeah, so
Yeah.
similar idea. Yeah.
But-
Yeah, it's interesting learning about Florida.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what do you figure you're all in for management then?
Well, like right now we're doing it ourselves, so it's pretty much zero. But like,
Oh, okay. So you're paying, cleaner, what have you.
yeah. So
So out
cleaner-
of that 60 grand, there's a cleaning fee in there, or
Yeah,
the cleaning's on
no.
top of the 60?
So we charge a cleaning fee through Airbnb. So I don't
Yeah.
really factor it, but to be honest,
So you're just assuming it's nil. So it's on top of the 60 grand, and you're not factoring it as an expense. So it's just nil.
so through Airbnb, I think we charge like 200 and some odd bucks for cleaning, but
Yeah.
then our cleaner charges us like $75.
Okay, so you make money on that.
So, but I just call it a wash.
A wash then, so I don't need to build it into the expenses.
No,
It's
I
already
don't.
considered.
Yeah.
Okay, so then for management, then we'll just call it like 1%, like just odds and ends.
Yeah.
$600 a year
Sure.
for what have you.
Yeah, like lawn guys about $100 a month, pool guys about $100 a month.
That's fantastic. So I'm gonna need those contacts from you. So $2,400 a year for that. That's awesome. And they show up. They're responsible.
Yeah, so far.
Okay, and then I'm gonna just budget 500 miscellaneous. Okay, so you are a 480 value. and here's where the interest rates are going to kind of affect things. But you're at, okay, so a 9 cap to start. You know, that's something to consider here. 9% cap rate based on what everything you've told me. 70% would be a $336,000 mortgage. Amortization, you can get 30 down there, but now with our situation, it's like a 7%?
For rates?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going through the refinance process right now, and it's literally exactly 7%. But I had a conversation with the lender, and it was 6.75 on Thursday.
Yeah.
And Friday it was 7.
I was talking to somebody else who's invested in there, and I won't give the name, but he had a similar issue happen. Like, just got a call right at the closing hour, and oh yeah, by the way, things have gone up.
But that's the benefit of having so much cash flow. Like you can.
Yeah, so even 7%, which is a $2,200 monthly mortgage payment, you have $1,400 of cash flow on that place.
So, yeah, I think my numbers were, off the top of my head, was about 1,300. But yeah.
So hey, can't
on a single family
about that.
house, that's where my light bulb went off. And I'm like you can't get a single family house in Ontario that cash flows that.
Yeah,
right?
maybe with Airbnb. No,
Well,
even with Airbnb.
No, yeah, Airbnbs you probably might be able to. Like
they are restricted down there in Cape Coral, right? You're supposed to be a week minimum.
Yeah.
And are you applying that week minimum? Because I don't think they have very good enforcement on it.
No, like I think essentially we want weekly stays anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So
your ideal would be turnover on Sundays, right?
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, what we've done too is like someone will want to stay. Like I'm probably gonna not say this right because my wife does more of this stuff than I do, but like they'll stay for 5-6 days or a week. It's running a fine line. Like majority of the time it is a week.
Yeah.
But if there is a couple days between, we've been like, we'll just reach out to the people that are either staying or going, and we'll say, hey, would you like to stay for a day or two longer, or come a day or two early at a discounted price? Right?
Oh, okay.
And like you do that every month, there could be another $500.
Right. Okay. So it just helps top it up. So yeah, those numbers are good. Like I mean, I guess if you're in the Southwest, that's a more popular area.
Yeah, like it's in a really nice, like both houses that we bought are like 5 minutes from each other.
And are they? What was I gonna say? Like, well, they're pretty nicely finished, right? Mm-hmm. Quartz.
Yeah, granite.
Yeah, granite quartz. Okay. Okay, and the price point made a lot of sense that you bought them for.
Yeah, like we were looking at other ones that are more, and like I the easy numbers was like I'm like anything under $500,000 would work. But like,
well, I'm just thinking I was given numbers. I talked to an analytics guy, and he presented me with some great stuff. He scraped Air DNA and shared all this stuff with me, and he said, well, if you do a really average job, you'll get $60,000.
Okay, so I'm always over conservative when I run, which is good. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised.
So I'm wondering what I could do if I deck it out and put a full out games room in the garage, put everything that they could want. Foosball table, pool table, ping pong.
I think during the high seasons and stuff like that, every Airbnb they want and don't get me wrong, I'm not an Airbnb expert. But I'm more just I like buying real estate really. But essentially I figured out is the more stuff you have and the more you offer, you're going to generate more income.
Yeah, it's just more demand.
But through the low season, there is a lot of there is lots of availability. Yeah. So I don't know.
I feel like it's more important in the low season to stand out against your competition. Yeah. In the high season, everyone's getting rented.
Yeah.
But in the low season is where you really set yourself apart.
100%.
And you can bring those families in that, oh, this place looks like it has everything. Let's just go there.
Both ours in the backyard, it's very tropical. It's all, I don't even know what they call it. They're not palm trees, but there's palm trees and stuff everywhere. But it's very private, and it looks.
Shoot me some pictures if you got them, because actually, if I can, if I get them in time, I'll put them on the overlay of the video here. Yeah, that'd be good to show. Okay, so Nick, I appreciate talking to you. I mean, you're always inspiring. You're doing so much, and you don't hesitate on anything. So, which is awesome for a real estate investor.
Yeah, no, the whole Florida trip really going through COVID and stuff like that, very negative and all that that stuff. So when we went to Florida, I don't know, it's a whole different life down there. Everything
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it reset us, and then I don't know if you want to. We ended up meeting some other people down there, and I hired a coach and all that other stuff. But
yeah, well, I was going to ask you. We've been on for about an hour now. So is there anything you wanted to touch on that we hadn't?
Yeah, no, I think we're. I think the only other thing I'd like to say is in like comparing Canada, investing in Canada to US, like we're now transitioning to try to do more in the United States. We're trying to even get into some like development and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just I feel like there's opportunity there. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, there's opportunity everywhere, obviously, right? So
there is, right? Like, so it doesn't make sense to you. Does it feel good? I love the political hedge. I love having some stuff that's not in Canada because some things that Canada does is obviously scary. A huge amount of my audience resonates with that. Not everybody does, but if you're worried about something, it's nice to be able to just diversify against
Absolutely.
it. And that's the great thing. So yeah, it's great to have so many people down in Cape Coral with me. So
Pretty
many
much.
friends from home.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll be talking more about this, and really appreciate you coming on. Where do people find you, reach out to you?
Yeah, easiest is probably Instagram, NVD Properties.
NVD Properties?
Yep.
Okay, we'll put the handle in the show notes for everybody. And yeah, we'll have to get you back on for regular updates now.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.